One question I get all the time is, should I file first or be the one to respond in a divorce? And I have to tell you, really honestly, it doesn't really matter to me as a divorce lawyer. I think people get hung up on this. You're going to have some sort of unfair advantage or it's going to mean something to the court. The court literally doesn't care which party filed for divorce. All it really does is tell you who's going to talk first when it's time to go to court. So, like the petitioner, the one who files in Texas, normally gets to speak first at the final trial, but you're like probably going to settle at mediation, so it may not even apply to you. The other thing that happens is after mediation, it's the practice in Texas that the petitioner drafts the decree. So maybe it could get a little bit more fees on your side. But I mean, that's really it. I just don't think that you should use those two practical reasons to influence what's best for your life. More so think about, like, do I want to be the one to start this thing? Am I ready to file for divorce? Because you can't really control whether or when the other party's going to file. So you do you, boo. Like, what's best for you? It's really not going to make a huge difference in your case. How long is your divorce going to take in Texas? I have the most lawyer answer ever for you. It depends. And fighting takes longer. I mean, that's one way to think about it. If you ain't fighting, y'all just know what you're going to agree about. Maybe you don't have that many assets, not that many kids. You can be done the 61st day after you file. But like plot ruiner, that's probably not going to happen in your life. The 60-day thing I think we've done it a couple times at the firm. I think you need to really prepare yourself for more like 6 months to a year. Don't kill the messenger. But that's a little bit more of a realistic timeline. If there's a little bit of things in conflict, if there are some areas where you may have to do discovery or get some experts involved to value a business, you're definitely looking at more like the 9 months to a year. I think there's something out by the Judicial Commission or judge something that really wants them to move forward in 6 months. So that's a standard. You can kind of like, nothing happens to your lawyer or to you if it takes longer than that. So if I were planning on getting divorced tomorrow, I would be thinking in terms of 9 to 12 months. If you want to keep your divorce shorter, what you need to do is focus on the main thing and don't fight. Like, that's it. Keep focused and don't fight about stuff, because fighting takes more time. It costs extra in terms of time, money, heartache. Anything that you're going to fuss about is going to make it longer, because people all the time will say, oh, my divorce is super simple and easy. It really shouldn't cost that much or take that long. We've agreed on everything. Well, except for the custody stuff. It's like you have agreed on basically nothing in your divorce. If you don't know the kids' schedule, who's going to make decisions, who's going to pay how much money to whom. If you don't have all that lined out, you don't got nothing lined out. So if you want to make it faster, then keeping focused on those issues that you can agree on, get agreements, and perhaps go to the lawyer like, okay, we've agreed on everything but these 3 things, and we need y'all's help or a mediator's help getting through those. But focus on the main thing. Try not to fight, and your divorce can go faster. Can you file your divorce without telling your spouse? Yeah, for sure. You can file for divorce and then not have them served or notified in any way for like basically ever. So what has to happen when you file for divorce, at least in Texas, is you file the papers with the court, and then somehow notice has to get to the other party. And there's a real specific way. It's not just like, yo, I filed divorce papers. Okay, even telling them, even an email, that's not enough. There's more legal hoops that you have to jump through. But like in my own life, when I filed for divorce, I'm pretty sure it was months before my now ex-husband ever even knew, because the service part didn't happen. So yeah, they're not going to know unless you tell them or you serve them, or they get on the county's website in Texas, like where you file, they can look it up. So if you didn't know that, you can look up to see whether or not your spouse filed for divorce, so they can find it out. So be careful before you do that. Just because they don't necessarily find out doesn't mean they can't find out. So before you go filing, make good and sure that if they find out, you're like, ready to rumble and ready to go. But no, you don't got to tell them. You don't listen. You don't need your spouse's permission to get divorced. And that's kind of the point. A lot of people say, oh, well, he said he's not going to let me divorce him. And I always kind of giggle because it's like, honey, he doesn't get to tell you that you must stay married to him, at least in the state of Texas, at least for right now. There's another question I get a lot, like, should I tell him that I filed for divorce or her that I filed for divorce? Yeah, you probably should. This person you've been married to, maybe raised a family with, have pets with, have assets with, my opinion, deserves to hear it from your face that you're leaving them. And if you want any semblance of a relationship with this person going forward, trying to treat them in the divorce with some level of decency and respect can go such a long way in your future. And if y'all can find some little tiny common ground, even in the middle of the divorce, especially if you've got kids, your whole life can go smoother from that. Because if, like, when people are getting divorced, I'll say, look, treat that person like they're your child's parent. They gave birth or helped contribute, obviously, to the making of this child. That they are 50% your child. Can you be decent with them? And you can't make them be decent with you. Okay, so well, I don't want to do this because she's going to do that. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, you can't control what they're going to do, but you can control what you're going to do. So my 2 cents is definitely tell them you filed. Kind of control and work with your lawyer to figure out when is the best time, the right time, how to do that, and in the context of your specific situation. Because like if there's a domestic violence thing going on, every video I ever make, if there's a domestic violence situation happening or you're not physically safe in some way, that's usually a different set of circumstances you would really need to think through with the lawyer. But as a general rule, yeah, tell the person you've been married to that you're leaving. If you both want the house in a divorce, you got to fight on your hands because there's only one house, right? It's sort of like a pie. And if you get a piece, they don't get that piece. And there are a couple options that can happen with your house in a divorce, at least in Texas, which is where I practice as a divorce lawyer. And the court can say, okay, you get it or they get it. So one of y'all gets it. The court can award that one of the other gets it. And then the estate, the amount of money kind of dealt with at the end, makes the other person whole for like their half. Like let's say it's a community property house. Okay, you get it. They get it, and then you have to kind of make up the difference to even it out. Or if nobody can agree, the court can order you to put that house up for sale, and then y'all deal with the money on the back end. So if you both want the house, you can't both have the house. So if you can't agree, ultimately you're going to have to take it to a judge, and they'll either give it to one of y'all or tell y'all to sell it. Did you know you never have to go to court for a divorce? Now, you may find yourself there, but the way to stay out of court is to come to an agreement on everything in your life. And I'm kind of laughing as I'm saying that because you're divorcing this person and I'm telling you to keep out of court, you got to agree on everything. It's not the easiest thing to do, but believe it or not, most couples end up agreeing on everything through a process called mediation. And at mediation, you go back and forth and everybody like gives some, takes some back and forth, and everybody leaves a little bit angry. Like that's how you know you got a good deal at mediation, is if everybody's a little bit mad because everybody gave a little bit more than they thought they should have to give. So maybe it's decently fair. So if you go to mediation and can't agree, then your lawyers will just draw up the paper. They can agree on what that paper, the decree, says at the end and take it to court without you ever even going. So yeah, you can stay out of court in your divorce if you want to. It's just going to take a lot of agreements along the way.